Crypto's booming and asset management companies are jumping in with full force. They're getting more involved and starting to really understand just how volatile and early we all are in this market. Let's talk about the numbers. The crypto market cap is sitting at $3,650 billion right now. And honestly, this feels like just the beginning. Remember, we're only slightly above the all-time highs from 2021. Even when we look at the most recent peaks back in December and January, the market cap didn't even hit 4 trillion. Here's 3.72 trillion. So if we take a step back and look at where we are right now, we're really just consolidating around and slightly below the all-time highs. In my opinion, this is just the beginning. When things really start to take off and alt season kicks in, we're going to see some incredible, fast-moving action on the charts. Of course, we can't ignore the big topic here, Bitcoin. I know, you're probably tired of hearing me bring up Bitcoin. I get where you're coming from, and I totally understand what you mean. But here's the thing. Bitcoin plays such a key role in making all of this happen. The higher Bitcoin goes and the more liquidity that flows into it, the more it trickles down into Ethereum and altcoins, which means even more growth for our investments. Plus, when Bitcoin's value rises while its dominance drops, it's great news for altcoins. They tend to soar even higher. Right now, Bitcoin has been consolidating since that big jump to 119K on the 11th. It's only been about 24 hours since that move, so we're still in the early stages of seeing how this plays out. We're starting to see some consolidation now as we wait for the next big move. Honestly, it reminds me of the initial push on the 9th when we hit around 112K. Followed by a short period of consolidation that only lasted about a day before things picked up again on the 11th. That same kind of pattern seems to be forming now, though this one's stretching out a bit longer. I'm not too worried about it. I'm good with giving it more time. These pauses often set the stage for a big move upward, and I think that's exactly where we're headed. When it comes to Bitcoin, I'm keeping a close eye on Ethereum too. We've been watching it carefully, especially with phase 2 coming up, a big indicator that altcoins could be gearing up for a move higher. Right now, Ethereum's just under 3K. Flipping 3K is key. It's the signal we've been waiting for to push toward 4K. The real turning point is around $3,400.00. Once we break through $3,400.00, 4K is within reach. And from there, we're looking at price discovery mode. Exciting stuff, right? Oh, and here's something interesting. Exchange reserves for both Bitcoin and Ethereum are dropping fast. That means demand is surging, especially as enterprise and institutional investors are jumping in. Plus, with ETFs soaking up supply, when it comes to Bitcoin, the supply just isn't there. It's as simple as that. This could lead to a supply shock, pushing Bitcoin's price even higher. And when that happens, altcoins are likely to follow with significant gains. Take XRP, for example. It's in a really exciting spot right now. We've seen a nice push recently, almost hitting $3.00, but now it's pulling back a bit to retest some key resistance levels. But honestly, this pullback is no big deal. XRP is setting up for a much bigger move, especially with how bullish Bitcoin and Ethereum have been lately. As we move into phase 2 of this cycle, XRP carries that same strong momentum and narrative backing it. Institutional adoption is really picking up steam, and it's exciting to see more and more companies adding XRP to their trust reserves. It's such a positive sign. On top of that, XRP is playing a role in some major developments happening around government initiatives, especially when it comes to stablecoin projects. There's also a lot of buzz around ETF filings, including the Truth Social ETF and other XRP ETFs moving behind the scenes. Honestly, when you look at the current environment around XRP, it's hard not to feel bullish. It's such an exciting time for this space. And let's be real, if someone's ignoring how promising things are looking for XRP, they're probably choosing to turn a blind eye. Who knows? Maybe they're just die-hard Bitcoin fans, those paying attention. It is straightforward to analyze the all-time chart here, particularly by examining the candle bodies. This chart demonstrates a notably bullish trend. Previously, we discussed the 8 consecutive months of consolidation for XRP above the all-time high monthly candle closes from 2017 and 2018. XRP has been positioned for a significant upward move for quite some time, and we are now beginning to see that momentum materialize, which is an encouraging development. At this point, however, retail participation remains limited. I understand some may argue that this narrative that retail investors will eventually flood into the market is frequently repeated. Nonetheless, it remains accurate. Until platforms like Coinbase and other crypto exchange apps trend prominently in mobile app stores or achieve top rankings, and until data from tools like Google Trends confirms heightened retail interest, it is clear that retail engagement is still lacking. I've got to say, retail interest just isn't here right now. If you check Google Trends for searches like coins to buy, they're at all-time lows. Searches for crypto to buy are flatlining, and even Bitcoin hasn't seen much of a bump. And this is while Bitcoin just hit a new all-time high, trading just under 120K. Now, the interest in Bitcoin is surprisingly low. It's about the same as it was back in August, September, and October of 2024. Seriously, compare those months to where we are now, and you'll see what I mean. As for XRP, yeah, it's had a nice spike recently, and that's great to see. But the overall interest is still way down compared to the highs we saw at the end of December and beginning of January. It's wild to think about because, once again, retail just isn't here yet. XRP is making waves, surging to a 7-week high at $2.39. The first time since May 23rd. But here's the real story. Whales are on the move. The number of wallets holding at least 1 million XRP stands at 2,742, just one shy of yesterday's record, breaking 2,743. These massive wallets now control a staggering 47.32 billion XRP, a clear signal of growing confidence in XRP's future. Whales are accumulating, and they know what we all suspect. XRP isn't just bullish, it's set to soar. The broader altcoin market is heating up, and XRP is riding the wave straight to the top. And let's not forget Bitcoin, the cornerstone of the crypto universe. Exchange balances are plummeting, tightening supply, and setting the stage for what could be the next big move. The buzz is real. Whispers of an impending supply shock are growing louder. It may have started as a meme, but the cracks are showing, and supply constraints are no longer just speculation. For years, people have talked about Bitcoin hitting a supply crunch, sparking dramatic shifts in the market. Guess what? That moment might be closer than we think. With institutional adoption ramping up and ETF purchases pouring in at staggering rates, the pressure is building. The inflows, they're not just significant, they're game-changing. Retail investors are snapping up Bitcoin, companies are adding it to their reserves, and whispers swirl about potential U.S. reserve involvement, though details remain elusive. Imagine all this demand converging, building pressure on Bitcoin supply. A supply shock could be looming, and it couldn't come at a more pivotal moment. Asset management giants like Bitwise are laying out the facts, but the stage is set for something big. The Bitcoin gold rush is on, and the numbers are staggering. In Q2 2025, companies have amassed a jaw-dropping 847,000 BTC, 4.03% of the total 21 million supply, marking a 23.13% increase in just one quarter. The total value, a mind-blowing 91 billion, up an astonishing 60.93% quarter over quarter. Even more striking, 125 public companies are now holding Bitcoin, a number that keeps climbing. The message is clear. The Bitcoin supply is vanishing fast, paving the way for a potential supply shock. With this surging demand, the crypto conversation is heating up, and altcoins are entering the spotlight. If Bitcoin supply shock is imminent, brace yourself. It could skyrocket while Bitcoin dominance takes a surprising hit. Wait, you might ask, how can dominance drop if companies are snapping up Bitcoin and triggering a supply crunch? Here's the twist. It's not just Bitcoin. Ethereum is riding the same wave, and even altcoins like XRP are joining the action. Yes, XRP, believe it or not, XRP is quietly facing its own supply shock. It may not move as fast as Bitcoin due to supply differences, but whales are stockpiling XRP at an extraordinary rate. Now, here's where it gets interesting. XRP dominance is breaking free from its downtrend. Momentum is building fast. Even against Bitcoin, as are locked on XRP, and this could be the start of something big. The chart lays it all out. Key levels that could define the next big moves. The first target zone, a bold 6 to 8% gain. Beyond that, the next surge could push us into the 11 to 14.3% range. If Bitcoin keeps climbing and the crypto environment grows more bullish by the day, long-term included, this early stage revolution is just beginning. Picture this: diminishing supply across the board, driving up pressure on the most prominent projects. XRP stands tall among them, primed for massive adoption and relentless buying pressure. As crypto moves deeper into the mainstream, retail investors are scooping up supply like never before, setting the stage for dramatic supply shocks. Meanwhile, institutional giants are ramping up ETF pushes, devouring even more of the limited supply. And banks, they're eyeing crypto assets like XRP for their own reserves. The OCC, the FDIC, even the Fed, they've all given the green light. And guess what? They're going to hold crypto. Sounds crazy, right? But think about it. Why wouldn't they? They're diving headfirst into institutional DeFi, building reserves and rolling out crypto buying, selling, and trading services. To do that, they need to hold crypto in their reserves. This sets up the perfect storm. Supply dwindles, demand skyrockets, and a supply shock looms on the horizon. Now zoom out. Bitcoin's trading around $117,400. I see it surging to $200,000, a massive 70% climb. At the same time, Bitcoin dominance is slipping, sitting at 63.8%. What happens if it drops another 30% back to 2021 lows? Imagine the ripple effect on altcoins like XRP. I've touched on this before, looking at dominance figures compared to the total crypto market cap. Honestly, I think we could see the entire market hit somewhere between 5 to 7 trillion. Right now, XRP is sitting at close to 5% dominance. If the market hits 5 to 7 trillion and XRP holds 5% dominance, that would put XRP's price between $4.40 and $6.12. But what happens if XRP climbs back to 12% dominance? At 5 to 7 trillion, we're talking about XRP hitting a range of around $10, 50 cents to $14.70. That's why I've said the $10 to $15 range might feel like an ambitious target, but it's definitely possible, and it could happen faster than people expect. Think back to 2017 when XRP was trading at 31.4% market dominance. We like to take things one step at a time around here and keep an eye on the bigger picture. Looking at the 3-week chart, XRP is showing signs of gearing up for a major breakout on the dominance chart. I really believe it could get back into double digits. When that happens, we'll definitely revisit and chat more about where XRP is trading. My guess, we can see XRP around the $7 mark, but of course, that'll depend on how high Bitcoin and the rest of the market climb. But speaking of Bitcoin, Bitwise has been super bullish lately. They've talked about a possible $200,000 price by the end of the year. That's why I've mentioned the $200,000 target too. It's exciting to think about. Bitwise CIO sees Bitcoin continuing to rise thanks to growing institutional adoption and those long-awaited Bitcoin ETFs. ETFs are doing great and the demand for Bitcoin is skyrocketing. The vibe in the crypto space right now, super bullish. Here's the exciting part. If Bitcoin hits 150K, that's still about a 30% gain from where it is today. And here's where it gets even better. If Bitcoin dominance drops by 30% at the same time, altcoins could absolutely take off. We're talking serious parabolic moves here. The higher Bitcoin climbs, the more we should be rooting for it. Why? Because Bitcoin drives a huge chunk of the liquidity in the crypto market, and Ethereum plays a big role too. Once that liquidity starts flowing, we're likely going to see altcoins go absolutely wild. Right now, if you look at the supply metrics for Ethereum, Bitcoin, and even XRP, it's clear big time accumulation is happening. I'm really excited about what's coming next. I truly believe XRP is gearing up for something huge, and now's the time to pay attention. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more free content coming your way. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.